Today I'm going to plant these hollyhocks that I started from seed. I started them from seed, it's been probably back in January, February, and I've just kept them in the greenhouse. It's the Halo Apricot hollyhock, which get pretty tall, and I'll put the stats there on the screen for you, and some pictures of what the blooms will look like. I ordered these seeds off of Etsy. So I had more that came up, but for one reason or another they didn't survive. I'm sure that was my neglect. One thing I did notice on these is that they do have it looks like mealy bug. You can see all the ants. They have, it looks like some mealy bug infestation here. If I can zoom in to show you. Let's see if I can get a closer look here in the shade. See if my phone will. I get these a lot. And they suck the life out of your plant. So, I can spray them. I can physically just remove them, as gross as that is. But it looks like maybe the hollyhocks might be susceptible to that. However, I'm sure that anything in a pot is weaker than, if it's out, planted in the ground. So perhaps that's just vulnerable because I have it in the ground. So we'll see. All I know to do is just remove most of them and hope for the best. But this leaf is pretty infested. I'm thinking about just removing that leaf, but they're all pretty infested, so I don't know. This is frustrating. There's always a bug trying to kill your stuff. I may just spray it really good with water and come back. I think instead of watering it, I'm going to use a spray that I can concoct myself. It was listed as a spider mite spray, but I'm thinking if it works on spider mites, it should work on just about any parasite. I know that it works on scale for citrus trees. So if it works on scale and spider mite, I'm going to try it for these mealy bug. I don't know if it's the mealy bug itself or the mealy bug larva, but nonetheless, it's mealy bug. So here's the spider mite spray that I have been making for a couple years now. And I got it off this guy's channel, and if I can find it, I will definitely give him credit for it. If I can remember, it's been like 2 years ago that I made it. So anyway, I can't exactly remember. But I'm gonna mix that up really quick and put it in my little hand sprayer, and I'm gonna douse these before I plant them because I really don't want to put them in the ground. It's gonna be so much harder to spray them with this once they're in the ground. So I'd like to do it right now where I can kind of turn them around and upside down. So I'm gonna mix this up really quick, or maybe mix it with you. We'll mix it together. So this recipe calls for 2 quarts of water, but my spray bottle is only 1 quart. It's 32 fluid ounces, which is the same as 1 quart. And so I'm just gonna half this recipe because I'm only using it on these small plants and I really don't want to waste it. So I'm gonna just basically half everything. So that would mean like 1/4 of a cup of the Castile soap, about 6 drops of the peppermint oil, a half a tablespoon of the hydrogen peroxide, and a half a cup of the isopropyl alcohol. So basically, just to show you, this is the tea tree Castile soap. I get this, it's a Dr. Woods brand, and I get it off of Amazon, and it's 32 ounces. So, you know, if you're only using a quarter of a cup, that really doesn't, it goes pretty far. Basically just Walmart equate the peroxide and the alcohol, and then I just use any peppermint oil probably would do, and then my little measuring cup. So I'm going to measure out half of these ingredients and then put it in my little spray bottle and then go from there. All right, so I mixed it up and started spraying it, and my phone got overheated, so I had to stop. But basically, I don't want to do it in the sun because I don't want these, you know, the hollyhock leaves to get wet and then scald perhaps. So I'm just laying it here in the shade, just gently laying it on its side so that I can access, you know, the bottom of the leaves. This plant's not bad, but I'm going to spray it anyway. So just shake it up really good, and see, I see one underneath that little leaf, and I just spray the underside. It doesn't seem like they want to get on the top side, and that could be because they think they're hidden. I don't know. Could be because that's where the veining is the easiest for them to see. There's some on this limb. So I just spray the limbs good and underneath each leaf. Now, I've never used this mixture on hollyhocks, okay? So there's a chance I could kill these poor plants. But I have used it on so many other things that I'm pretty confident in using it, that I don't think it'll harm the plant. I let it kind of drip for a second. I just don't want a whole bunch of that down in the soil because I just don't know how healthy this is for the roots. So I'll let it just kind of drip for a second, then lift it up and put them in the shade until it dries. I still see some more on this plant. Pretty bad down there at the base. I don't know if you guys can see that or not very well. It's not wanting to focus. I'm going to douse it just a couple times there. I don't want to overdo it. Turn it around. Just a couple little sprays. I mean, the plants look fairly healthy, but you know, if I don't do something about it now, they probably won't be healthy. This one more, and it's got some down there. It's always something, isn't it? So just tilt it to its side gently because I got fertilizer in there. You can see here there's some on the limbs. So we're just gonna see, this would have been so hard to do once I had them in the ground. Gently rotate it around. Matter of fact, I don't know that I could have done it while it's in the ground. Let it drip for a few seconds. And I had another one. Where'd it go? Huh. I'll have to go find it. Found it. I was carrying it to its location. This one doesn't look too bad, but I'm gonna treat it regardless because I do see a few. You can see one there, and there's a few here. They're very small, but once they get planted and they're in the ground, you know, I may just have to let them fend for themselves. But, you know, it's interesting because bugs, diseases in general, seem to know when a plant is weak. I've heard that a plant will send out signals, hormones, something, and it, you know, it's like they become more susceptible when they're weak and vulnerable, either due to, you know, being root bound or dehydrated, or, you know, maybe they're just lacking in nutrition. And it seems like that's when parasites really want to flock to them. So the key is to, you know, keep your plant as healthy as possible. You know, it's just like the human body. When we don't have a strong immune system because we are, you know, not exercising, not eating right, not getting enough of our vitamin D and C, you know, then what happens? Well, we're more susceptible to getting infections. So, you know, it's not much different. So hopefully when I plant these and I give them some good biotone starter fertilizer and some compost, and their roots can really expand, hopefully they'll be strong enough that they can resist parasites and fungal diseases and things like that. So I'm going to let these dry before I plant them, and then I'll see if I can find a spot for them. So I've decided to plant them back here, one at least, because they get anywhere from 6. I've seen in some places where they say they get 8 foot tall. They're fairly bushy, it said. So, you know, I want it to be more of a backdrop and not something that tall that's up close to the top. So here's where I'm going to plant it. I've got a hydrangea here. I think this is the, which one is this? You can see it's already got little buds started on it. This one is the Quick Fire Fab, so it gets pretty big. Now these hollyhocks, I don't think they're long-living perennials. I think that they live for about 3 years, and then you're supposed to replace them. So I use my handy-dandy post hole digger. This ground is pretty loose, and make my little hole with that. So, and then I'm going to mix a little compost that I've scooped up here. I've got some biotone starter fertilizer in my cup, and so I'm just going to get it planted. So you can see it was getting kind of root bound. It's not severe, but I don't know if you can see that, but that's one of those pill bugs. He's living up in that little hole there. Actually, that's a worm. Good grief. I wonder if that's the larva. I need to look that up. I hate those things. All up in there. There's one right there. Ugh. I just have battle with those. But anyway, you can just see the roots, especially up here near the top. So maybe that's why it was a little stressed and was susceptible. Anyway, okay, it's all planted, and you can see where I put the compost around it, and I sprinkled a little bit more of that starter fertilizer. This area here, I've got several things that I just planted recently. I've got a hosta here. This one is called Blue Angel. I think it's an older variety, but it's a kind of a blue. But I just planted it, and then I've got a lily here that I can't wait to see the blooms on it. I'm hoping it's beautiful. And then I've got the hollyhock. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably mulch this area. This is probably sufficient stuff. I hate to mulch and then keep planting, because then you have to just move the mulch, So once I get kind of an area done like that, then I'll come through and mulch. You can see my cardboard that I laid down a few weeks ago. After all the rain, it has just disintegrated. But it did suppress the weeds for the time being while it was there. But I'll just cover that up with some mulch, and it'll look really nice and tidy. It's amazing how mulch just makes everything look really clean and crisp. So I'll do that next. Well, there she is after I mulched her. I mulched all around her and the hosta, and this is an azalea. This is a little bitty planting of lamium. It's the beacon silver lamium. It was really in a tiny little pot, and you can see some of the browning here on that side there. But I'm hoping it survives. And then I have a rhododendron here, which is beautiful pink in the spring. Of course, my two hostas are blooming, and a lot of people don't care for the blooms, but I think they are absolutely darling. I mean, look at that bloom. What a sweet bloom. I love it. And the lavender is such a soft pastel. I mean, I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't like that, but I mean, I know you primarily grow it for the foliage for sure, but I just think the blooms are just an added little perk. And I think the hummingbirds really like them, and the butterflies really like them. But anyway, so over here on this side, I've got some more lamium, same beacon silver beacon. It's covered with dirt right now, but I hope it takes good. And I decided maybe to put another one of the hollyhocks here to match it right here. This is probably a good location for the hollyhocks because they get really tall, and they say that if you don't protect them from the wind, they will really need to be staked and they can fall over. Well, this building here behind it is the west. So the west, is where we get most of our winds. So hopefully this will protect the hollyhock from really high winds. We also get a lot of times bad winds from the south, but we also have these grain bins that might help protect it somewhat, from the south winds. But I just hope they get enough sun here, because with this being on the east side, you can already start to see the shadow is coming, and it's about close to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So probably from 2 o'clock on, it's going to be in shade. So we'll see how well it does. But I'm thinking here would be a nice place to put it. I think it's good to have plants, the same plants. If you're going to do a bed, try to have kind of a matching of them across the bed, because you want it to look like it's all one bed. Here's some of this lamium with the blooms on it. I love lamium. These were just recently planted, so they're probably in a state of shock right now, but I just think the blooms against that white, really bright, I don't know what you would call that. It's not silver really. It's just a very pale mint green. I would call that a mint green. I just think that is a beautiful contrast. And hopefully that'll get pretty tall and spread. I want it to spread like crazy. This is my summer crush hydrangea, and it's putting out some blooms. You can kind of see some buds starting, but it's not blooming near what I thought. So I'm wondering if I need to put something on it, a fertilizer specifically for bloom production, because if you look, the foliage looks super healthy, but not very many blooms. And and I think this one is supposed to bloom on new growth, so it shouldn't make a difference about the cold temperature. So I don't know. I'm not sure why. I need to research why it's not blooming more. Because you know, when you buy them at the store, they're loaded with blooms. So I need to figure out what the greenhouse's magic is. What's their magic ingredient? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish digging this hole. And I don't have a tripod out here to set up, so I don't think digging a hole is a complicated task. I know a lot of people think it's silly or make fun of me because I dig my holes with a post hole digger. But when you've got little bitty pots, it's perfect because it breaks the soil up, loosens it up, and digs a perfect little hole. Yeah, it takes a little bit of shoulder strength, but not bad. And it's good for me, right? I mean, we need to do some physical work. I know I do. So I'll get that hole dug and we'll plant us another one. Well, here's the second one I planted. Over there's the first. And here is the second. And it's just amazing how the mulch just cleans it up so nicely. That old cardboard looks so disgusting. But, you know, I did it because I didn't have time to do any other kind of weeding. So I think I'm going to plant maybe the third one here. And that'll leave me two more that I'll probably plant those in a different bed. I'm thinking probably over in this area so that they can kind of mirror each other and have some more tall stuff going on in that bed over there. So anyway, hopefully they'll be gorgeous. They may not even bloom this season. It may be, you know, next year before they actually bloom. But you never know. But they got a long way to go to get to 6 feet tall. Anyway, thanks for watching.